So before coming here today, I did my research. I know something about every single one of you. Bit scary, right? I know that you were once each a child. Do you remember the wonder you felt as a child? Maybe it was the wonder of opening a present, or splashing in puddles, or listening to an incredible story. As a child, I remember experiencing wonder often, but I also notice how that wonder dissipated over time. I've spent the last 30 years navigating the twists and turns of a career, being part of teams, building teams, leading teams. And over that time, one thing feels true, that when the going gets tough, those who can master their craft are also those who are most able to draw on wonder. Let me tell you a story. As an Indian growing up in Switzerland, my parents wanted me to learn about the culture of my host country, so they sent me to a French-speaking, all-girls Catholic school. I was 7, dressed in the standard uniform, pressed pinafore, black shoes, hair neatly tied back, and the lunchtime bell offered a shrill reminder to line up, follow the herd, and obey the lunchtime rules. We took our seats. First, the salad, then the main, and finally, the cheese. That day, it was camembert. The cheese was unfamiliar and, I have to be honest, a little smelly. I could hear it taunting me, "You will not pass." And I thought, there is no way you are getting anywhere near my mouth. So my 7-year-old brain focused on a way out. I glanced around to make sure that nobody was looking. I casually picked up the cheese and I dropped it on the floor. The principal stood up and the cafeteria fell silent. "Qu'est-ce que tu viens de faire? What have you done?" she yelled. "Rien, ma sœur, j'ai mangé le fromage." "Nothing," I shrugged. "I ate the cheese." "No, you did not. I saw you. Get up." She inspected the floor, searching for evidence. She pulled my chair away to get a better view, but the cheese had vanished. And in that moment, I knew there was a cheese god. It was a miracle, right? But as we lined up to exit the hall, I felt something soft and squishy underneath my shoe. The cheese had stuck to my soul. I didn't recognize my feelings, I didn't give them language, and I never shared them, but they would stick with me for a while. I convinced myself that if I conformed and met every criterion that mattered, I would belong. But it was a vicious cycle. The more I tried, the more I fell into comparison and envy. Fear refused to let me listen, build, or contribute, so I retreated and disconnected. It turns out that I am not alone. Over 40% of UK employees share a very similar experience. They feel alone, they turn inwards, and they retreat. Almost a quarter lack even one friend at work. Networks shrink, collaboration dwindles, and performance suffers. And as companies, we witness higher staff turnover and decreasing engagement. So why are we here? COVID-19, subsequent school closures, physical distancing, and quarantine challenged social connection in unprecedented ways. It turns out that avoiding a virus can actually harm your health. The pandemic sped up our feelings of fear. For 1 in 4 of us, social circles shrank. We tended to engage with those who were closest to us, often those who are most like us, and we lost diversity of opinion and perspective. We fell through the looking glass in search of connection. Likes, clicks, and notifications surrounded us. Curated platforms fueled comparison and discontent. Late-night doom scrolling heightened fear. Digital abundance filled our white space. We lost our passion. We limited our ability to innovate. We retreated and disconnected. Benefits platform Perkbox estimates that this disconnection cost UK companies over £340 billion annually in measurable things like absenteeism, training, and recruitment. But to attribute this disconnection solely to the pandemic or technological progress would be missing the nuance. After all, the evolution of how, when, and where we connect has been changing for years. Our lives hurtle forward at breakneck speed, demanding our attention. We hustle in pursuit of success. Our brains focus attention on the dangers at hand. We become hyper alert, fear sets in, and we stop seeing what we are missing. So, what are we missing? And can we address it? We absolutely can. As social beings, we are innately wired for connection. After all, we crave connection in the same area of the brain that we crave food, and we feel disconnection like we feel physical pain. Science tells us that connection is fundamental to well-being, cognitive function, and health. And so to build meaningful connection, we have to learn to substitute fear with wonder. Socrates believed that wonder built wisdom. Einstein called wonder the source of all art and science. Wonder is an emotional grab bag of surprise, contemplation, and joy. Wonder can substitute fear because it helps us look outward and expands our perspective. It fuels a dopamine rush in our brains. We feel good, we explore further, and we connect. So at this point, hopefully you're wondering, that's great, but how do we do it? Well, it starts with a blank sheet of paper. When I started my career, it was as a teacher. And every afternoon, we would gather on the story mat, much like this one, and read. Harold and the Purple Crayon was a strong favorite. Published in 1955, the story was a response to its time, one in which conformity was prized over individuality. During the decade, psychologists demonstrated how social pressures heavily influenced our perceptions. In other words, in trying to be like everyone else, we lost a part of ourselves. But Harold offered a different way. One evening, after thinking it over for some time, Harold pulls out a blank sheet of paper, a purple crayon, and he goes for a walk in the moonlight. He draws a forest, an apple tree, and a dragon to guard it. He gets a bit scared, so he falls into an ocean, but he draws a boat to sail away on. He slips off of a mountain, but rescues himself with a hot air balloon, eventually finding home. Harold pulls out a blank sheet of paper and imagines a different world with each stroke of his crayon. Unencumbered by fear, he bravely steps off of the well-trodden path. He listens to his feelings. He builds new worlds. He contributes to solving problems. He shows the world who he is, and he looks for those who are looking for him. The blank sheet of paper gives him space and time. It gives him the agency to wonder. Wonder, that emotional grab bag of surprise, contemplation, and joy, isn't just beneficial for us. It is critical for our companies. The clue is in the word. The word company comes from the Latin companus. Com meaning with, panis meaning bread. Roman merchants would gather, break bread, share stories, and connect. So if a company thrives on connection, a company must find the courage to wonder. We brought our computers home for 2 weeks in March of 2020, and we stayed home for 2 years. Life unfolded without a script. Analysis of over 5 million data points by recruitment firm Indeed shows that our retreat didn't happen overnight. Instead, the low point came later in the year as the novelty of being home wore off and as the lines between work and home imploded. The pandemic limited wonder. After all, when you're hunkered down trying to protect your clients, your team, and your business, exploration can take a backseat to survival. We scramble to react, get everyone home, learn the joys of Zoom or Teams, and focus on the metrics. As our team retreated into their family units, opportunities for impromptu gatherings and social connections were rare. We heard frustration, we saw exhaustion, and we felt digital overload. Fear drove us to retreat, so we substituted it. We pulled out a blank sheet of paper, and we found the courage to wonder. What made us tick? What defined us? What truly mattered to us? We listened to how caring, curiosity, and hope fueled us. We built on the strengths of the team, and we gathered to uncover our collective purpose. We contributed to a toolkit of strategies, educational sessions to learn, regular surveys to build on each other, and time for rest and recovery. These small steps changed the tenor of our interactions. Over 2 years, our self-assessed levels of connection more than doubled. The blank sheet of paper offered us space and time. It gave us the agency to substitute fear with wonder, and we reconnected as a result. Every once in a while, I think back to that moment in the cafeteria. Seen through the eyes of a child, that moment was filled with fear, and that fear heavily influenced my perception. My principal was too strict, my teachers were mean, my classmates didn't understand me. And so my 7-year-old brain focused on a way to keep me safe. So I hid, I lied, and I conformed. But with time, I see that what I really needed to do in that moment was to grab a hold of some wonder. What if I told them I didn't like the cheese? What if I had explained why? What would have happened then? I guess we'll never know. But with time, I realized that we mustn't let fear drive us to retreat or conform. Because when we do, we can miss the reality of what is right in front of us. Inspiring work, incredible friendships, and our place in the world. So here's my invitation. When you feel fear driving you to retreat or conform, pull out a blank sheet of paper, grab a hold of some wonder. Let the wonder teach you. Let it expand your perspective. Listen, build, and contribute. And gradually, you will see new opportunities. You will find those who are looking for you, and you will show the world who you are. As Antoine de Saint-Exupéry says so beautifully in The Little Prince, every grown-up was once a child, but only few of them remember it. So let's remember it. Let's remember to wonder. Thank you.